DanLaVigne Studios. My name is Dan LaVigne, and today we're going to talk about painting trees. I've got a little 15-minute sketch that I made on a painting trip to Camarillo, and I'm going to be using this as kind of a jumping off point to talk about trees. I think that the thing you have to remember is that the tree is, more than anything else, it is a shape, a large shape or a small shape, but we don't want to put the cart in front of the horse here and start getting into a bunch of details before we establish the general volume of the tree. I want to establish how big it's going to be. Now, since I already kind of have something that I'm working from, I've already made some of these decisions. So this is going to be a nice tight little composition. I like to point out that the negative shape and the positive and the negative shapes are kind of equal here, which makes it very pleasing to the eye. And it is kind of making a yin and a yang kind of thing here. If you stay with those simple kinds of compositional ideas when you're working, it's kind of an airtight recipe for having things come out okay. So I'm just kind of going in here with my my dark value first, and I just want to plan where that's going to be. My sun's coming from this way. There's two things that are going to happen. My light is going to be warm, my shadow areas are going to be cool. So even as I'm mixing some of these shadow areas, I want to make sure that I have some ultramarine blue in there, things to kind of keep them temperature-wise to the cool side. Already I'm kind of liking the way that this is looking. I have a smaller tree off to the side here, a little bit of atmospheric perspective to push it back. Things get lighter from us as they recede, but that's a lesson for another day. But just kind of suggest that something might happen over here later. Okay, so now what we might do is we might come in here and start to talk about the lit side of that big eucalyptus tree on the left, and mix up a warmer, lighter value coming over that. Coming down over this with that pleasing, warm tone. And I'm liking this. Accident is a big part of what happens when one is painting. And when one is painting, you don't want to try to keep a death grip on everything. You want to be able to kind of let some things happen that you didn't plan for. And you can always decide later if you want to keep something that you didn't necessarily intend, or whether you decide, hey, you know what, that looks pretty great. So, I'm just I have a nice new brush here. That's the other thing. You see a lot of people painting with things that look like they just dug them out of the trash. If a brush doesn't give me a nice thin line when I need it, or if it doesn't spread the paint evenly when I need that, I throw it out and get a new brush. So you won't see me using old brushes in these videos. I just don't have patience with them. So I'm going to mix, some various values here, going from dark to light. I might actually come in here with maybe a lighter tone. So now I have something that's interesting. I have a real waxy kind of real light area, I have a medium tone, and then I have these darkest tones. Thing kind of over here for this area of shrubbery that's happening. And I'm just letting the brush kind of be very calligraphic and loose at this point. I hold it from the back side so that I don't have a death grip on it. And then at this point I might just indicate some of this open ground between myself and the trees with a nice bright grasses coming in here. Yeah. So I'll just kind of finish this out. And I might make some notes to myself as I go along that I'm going to try to put a path in here pads and things like pads, little outbuildings and things are tremendously helpful to people to give your work scale. It's hard to know how big anything is or until you know kind of how a person would look fitting into it. I like to kind of come in here with some branch shapes. I'm not real concerned about whether I get a perfect calligraphic mark if something isn't exactly the right shape for me. I can come in and I can attack from the sides. This is a great thing for doing anything that requires a little bit of kind of a nervy stroke, but you can get in here and cheat that thing and people will say, wow, what a beautiful brush stroke. And they'll never know that you did it not from the middle, but from the sides. Great trick. I might just kind of start to come in here with this bright color and carve into what I already have and keep my strokes bold and simple. Don't change my mind a bunch of times about what it is that I'm doing. And then I can come in here and play with these little edges. But try not to get too fussy with them. And you're just going for something that gives it a nice feeling. Now these things do show through the tree, but they don't show through the tree at this value. They'll show through the tree at a much shorter value because you're looking through all that green foliage. So if I did want to kind of open a place up here, down at the bottom, I would want to keep it in the darker range, working up and down my value scale. You want to clump things into big masses and then pull them apart into smaller things. There's a lot of things in nature that work this way. Leaves are one of them. The foam that's on surf on the ocean is another one. Once you start looking for things that work this way, you will find it and you'll be glad that you have a way of kind of dealing with it. You know, cut in over some of these things so that they look like, you know, they're coming out and that they're being surrounded by foliage, which means that they duck in and out of view. And don't be afraid to, you know, get some variety of light and dark in there. Under that canopy, it might be very dark. Okay, and then just to kind of finish off the thought of those nearby mountains in the background, you know, we just might want to just kind of think of hitting this with something so that calms down. And you can see how quickly something like this comes together almost instantly. I mean, you could sit here and work on this for, you know, a long time, but you've already said essentially what needed to be said. Something like that. Okay, so that's basically it. My favorite saying in painting is less is more.